This is the Narrowgate News Show with host Dennis Cole. Narrowgate News recognizes that history happens once, but Bible truth is being expressed by God, the Holy Spirit, through his reporters right now. This same Holy Spirit has inspired Narrowgate News to report and interpret what is truly happening in our world today. Host Dennis Cole has a college degree in literature and acting. He's also a seminary graduate, a professional actor, author, and ordained minister. We now present to you Dennis Cole and the Narrowgate News Show. Thank you for participating with us.
Thank you, everybody. Dennis Cole, Narrowgate News. I'm very, very happy to be with you right now. Last week, we did a theme based on the historic and contemporary attempt of destructive elements to destroy creation. And the opening verse I had is the same one I'm going to have today. It goes like this. If you desire to be rich, let me say it better. If you desire to be rich, you will fall into a temptation and a snare. For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. That's from 1 Timothy 6, 9, and 10. And I'm going to expand on it right now, though. From Revelation 13, the famous mark of the beast chapter, it forced all people, small and great, rich and free, slave and free, to receive a mark on their hand or on their forehead, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of its name. This calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. That number is 666. And then to amplify the point, in the next chapter, 14, verse 9, a third angel followed them and said in a loud voice, speaking for God, if anyone worships the beast and its image and receives its mark on their forehead or on their hand, they too will drink the wine of God's fury, which has been poured out full strength into the cup of his wrath. They will be tormented with burning sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment will rise forever and ever. That's 14:9 through 11. There's a lot more to it. Just wanted to give you a taste of something that we talk about a lot on Narrowgate News. We say the end is near, and then we say the end is here. What do we mean by that? What we mean is the very trends that mark the very last day of planet Earth as we know it are happening now. So there's a segue between today and tomorrow, between the end that is near and the end that's here. We're being tempted all over the place. Today's message, our Narrowgate News report, we call it the sin of passivity. In a general sense, in these Narrowgate News reports, I talk about this all the time. I just never gave it a title. The sin of passivity. It's very common for us to not know what's happening, and then to come up with a justification for not knowing what's happening. It becomes like intentionally not knowing what's happening, and that is passivity. It's a very, very dangerous place to go. We're going to talk about the three elements of these days that we're living in, the days we're living in now. The biggest change in my eschatology over the years isn't the facts of the eschatology. Eschatology is a big word for the end, Armageddon, the coming of Jesus, the rapture of believers, all these synonyms. No, what's changed for me, and it's drastically changed, and seems to be every day, every year, I'm much more in the present than I ever was. You see, if I can figure out the present, I got the future covered, and the past can get healed. The present right now. The sin of passivity is very rampant. I want to show you some illustrations from film and from journalistic interviews. In fact, one of the interviews is one that I have with Eric Metaxas, but we're not doing that right now. Right now, I want to show you, it's a 2-minute or so clip from The Sound of Music. You might say, Sound of Music? What's that got to do with Narrowgate News? I'm telling you, there's a great message in the Sound of Music. Let's go, let's watch it right now. Thank you for watching it.
I had nothing to do with that, Gail. I came back as fast as we could.
We miss kissing you goodnight.
We missed all the noise you make in the morning, telling each other to be quiet.
Mostly we miss hearing you sing.
Oh, you came back just in time. Look, Fräulein Maria. I mean, Mother. We're going to sing in the festival tonight.
What? We've been rehearsing.
I've
been rehearsing all.
Surprise, surprise. All right, surprises for you on the terrace. We'll talk about this inside.
Georg, I would have told you, but you were away. I had to make a last-minute decision. I was fortunate to enter them at all.
Max.
They'll be the talk of the festival. Imagine 7 children in one planet.
Max! Somehow I recall having made it quite clear to you how I feel about my family singing in public.
But the committee heard them. They were enchanted.
Oh, Max, what did they say?
I have never heard such enthusiasm.
Oh, darling, don't you think just this once...
Absolutely out of the question.
Georg, this is for Austria.
For Austria? There is no Austria.
But the Anschluss happened peacefully. Let's at least be grateful for that. Grateful.
You know, Max, sometimes I don't believe I know you.
Father, I forgot. This is for you.
So you see a few culprits there. You see the march of the Nazis. And then you see the Third Reich flag. And this man, this nice-looking man, handsome man, played by Christopher Plummer, Captain von Trapp, takes off the Third Reich flag. The Nazis put that on his house. Austria was being taken over by the Third Reich, the Nazis. He looks at the flag, protects us from his children. He's livid, but he just came home from his honeymoon, and the children have a mother, Maria, the beautiful Sound of Music. She sings beautifully. Julie Andrews. It's beautiful. But here's the scene, and you just saw it. Max, his brother-in-law or the kid's uncle, something like that. He goes over to Captain Von Trapp. He says, "What's the big deal? Come on, the takeover was peaceful. Come on, we should be thankful." And Von Trapp says, "Max, sometimes I think I don't know you." We let that beat play and the scene ends. Do you understand what just happened? The Austrian flag was considered bad, but the Third Reich flag was considered good. How many events do you go to, or are you aware of, where they show other flags than the American flag? The American flag, in many circles, is considered dangerous, terrorist, like, those MAGA people, MAGA people, those Republicans that are MAGA. Watch out for them. Watch out for them. The American flag is being treated like the Austrian flag just before the days of World War II. And Max says, "What's the big deal?" And then in another scene, Von Trapp says to Max, "You have to care." The word is, we have to be aware of what's going on. Now, we're generally aware, but are we aware? Are we somehow thankful that somehow there's a peaceful transition? There's been no revolutionary war in America. I mean, I'm not for wars. Trust me. I'm like Donald Trump. He doesn't go to war. He talks tough, but he doesn't go to war. Now, this is very real. The sin of passivity is powerful. Now, it just so happens at the NRB in February of this year, 2024, that's the International Media Conference for Christians. And NRB, National Religious Broadcasters, that's the traditional name for it. But here I am. I'm in an interview with Eric Metaxas, who's very well known for his book on Bonhoeffer, who stood up to the Nazis. Tragically, he died on the last day of World War II in the Holocaust. Auschwitz, I'm not sure, I forget where it was. Nevertheless, I want you to see this interview. It's about 2 minutes or so of an interview that I had, yours truly, Dennis Cole, with Eric Metaxas. Let's watch it right now. Thank you. I want to start off with a, I'm pretty good on remembering statistics, and I was watching you you were doing public speaking about your book, and I remember you came up with the number 18,000 churches in Germany.
Yep.
3,000 were very proactively against Hitler. 3,000 were proactively for Hitler. And here's the key thing. This is really what
This is the key.
the 12,000 are like passive.
In the middle,
Right.
pretending that they don't need to choose.
Right.
They said, we don't do politics from our pulpits, and we just want to preach the gospel. We just want to do church.
Right.
12,000 pastors, Lutheran pastors in Germany. And so you have 3,000 heroes willing to stick their necks out, speak out against evil, and really just to do their best to say, we believe God has called us to speak against evil. And they did it. They risked their lives. Some of them lost their lives. Bonhoeffer lost his life. 3,000. 3,000 totally for Hitler. So it's like the equivalent of the woke, loony churches today. You can discount them. They're crazy. But the key, in the middle, 12,000 pastors who actually convinced themselves, we don't need to choose. We don't need to be in this battle. We're going to be neutral. We're going to be like Switzerland. They, by their neutrality, allowed evil to crush millions of human beings. And it's a lesson from history that's so chilling. I mean, my mother grew up, and I'll talk to her later today. I mean, she grew up in Nazi Germany. My family lived through this. It's a level of wickedness, and what's the most chilling to me is the church could have stopped it. There's no doubt about that. If you read my book on Bonhoeffer, or if you read this book, Letter to the American Church, there is no doubt. This is not just some speculation. And Bonhoeffer and the others who were standing firm said, if we could just get more pastors to join us, we know the German church has the full power. If we do it now, in the beginning of the 1930s, when Hitler first took over, we have the power to stand against this. Because most churches said, we don't want to do that, we're going to stay in our lane, we're just going to do church, they allowed evil over time to gain more and more power, so that eventually, by 1935, so this is early on, it was over.
Okay. What I learned from that interview, because I was aware of Eric, and I was fortunate to get him in an interview, his mother lived in Nazi Germany. I mean, here's a guy, he's about 61, 62 years old, and he's got a mother who's still alive that lived in Nazi Germany. That's real close. And of course, as you saw the discussion, there's 18,000 churches. 3 are totally against Hitler. 3 are totally for Hitler. That's 6,000. And the remaining 2/3 or 12,000 are, as Eric says, playing church or doing stuff. They don't want to deal with what's going on. They don't want to go on. I don't want to deal with that. I don't have to deal with that. I don't want to go into politics. Problem is, the issue isn't political. It's spiritual. And Eric says it very, very well. He outlines it. There was one thing I did say, which we didn't show in this interview, but I will tell you what I did say to him, because it came to me the day before, and I told him on the air. I said, Eric, I figured out why there's such weak preaching in the churches today, and it's pretty weak. I've done about 2,000 events the last 20 or so some odd years, but I go there as an evangelist, and I'm able to do things partly and greatly because I see what's going on. Because if I have the sin of passivity, I'm in recovery, and that's what we want to do. We want to come into recovery. So what I said to Eric is the problem with preaching is that there seems to be an agreement, whether it's verbally stated or not. Most agreements are nonverbal, but they're very, very, very clearly communicated. That we, Pastor Joe and Pedro in the pew, or Peter or John or whatever, let's agree to not deal with what's going on. But let's talk about Greek words and Hebrew words. Listen, I'm a seminary graduate. I'm not against Greek words and Hebrew. That's exegesis of the Bible. But there's another exegesis where we're leaving out, which is what's going on, what's right before you, what's staring you right in the face. And Eric understands this. Max had to learn it. And Captain Von Trapp points it out. The sin of passivity. See what's happening and hate it. First, hate it. Hate is very, very, very uncomfortable. It is. But the Bible says to hate evil, and hate it in yourself first. Hate it, your own fear of not being popular or saying things that might not be, acceptable at Thanksgiving dinner when the family gets together. And don't you see what we're losing? John Adams said the Constitution, he was the second president of the United States, I believe. He said the Constitution was made for a moral and religious people. But what's happened in America? What's happened in the world? We can't blame the media on this one, or politicians or globalists. Well, I mean, they're all part of it. But who dropped the ball? Somehow we lost the passion for truth because Christianity is falling apart. Certainly the Constitution isn't followed. With the sanctifying power to stop evil is being pushed aside just by not wanting to make any waves. And I'm telling you, Captain Von Trapp made waves. Eric Metaxas is making waves. Narrowgate News, we have to. It's a blessed hope. So, religion is a big part of the Antichrist. He wants to destroy religion, therefore he wants to destroy freedom from people. He doesn't want us to be free. He wants us to run scared. But there's another move of the Antichrist, which is morality, destroying morality. You see, if we can destroy morality, I'm thinking like a communist now. If we can destroy morality, if we can bring in the 60s, the sexual revolution, the 70s, why don't we let Yuri Bezmenov, he's a KGB agent. He came here in the 80s. And he went on media, particularly with G. Edward Griffin, one of the great journalists of all time. And he communicated to Americans, you've got to understand that you're becoming communist and you don't know it because, again, it's a peaceful takeover, but they're taking over. They know what they're doing. The communists know what they're doing. I want you to watch this, another 2-minute clip, give or take, right now. Yuri Bezmenov, thank you.
However ridiculous it may sound, the world communist system or the world communist conspiracy, whether I scare some people or not, I don't give a hoot. If you are not scared by now, nothing can scare you. But you don't have to be paranoid about it. What actually happens now, that unlike myself, you have literally several years to live on unless the United States wake up. The time bomb is ticking. With every second, the disaster is coming closer and closer. Unlike myself, you will have nowhere to defect to, unless you want to live in Antarctica with penguins. This is it. This is the last country of freedom and possibility.
Okay, so what do we do? What is your recommendation to the American people?
Well, the immediate thing that comes to my mind is, of course, there must be a very strong national effort to educate people in the spirit of real patriotism, number one. Number two, to explain them the real danger of socialist, communist, whatever, welfare state, big brother government. if people will fail to grasp the impending danger of that development, nothing ever can help United States. You may kiss goodbye to your freedom, including...
You see his warning? You don't have much time. You see how aggressive the communists are? What happened? The 60s, I joined Students for Democratic Society in the 60s. That's a communist organization when I was in college at Northeastern in Boston. I mean, I was becoming a lefty if there ever was one. And lefty, I don't use the word liberal. I use the word lawless. Now I understand. I became a believer in 1983, but I'm in college in the late 60s, 70s. Yeah. I mean, the sexual revolution. I mean, are you kidding me? That is a destruction of morality. The whole Christian, you love, you're married when you have sex when you get married. You wait for that. I mean, the whole moving away of Christianity with a fake Christianity. Communism is a fake Christianity. Of course, abortion had to happen because there was so much sex and nobody was married, so they had to abort kids. It was about 63 million abortions in America alone, and that's in America. It was like a peaceful takeover, but everybody willingly became, communist. We used to be afraid of the Iron Curtain back in the 60s and 50s. I remember when I was a child, ooh, the Iron Curtain. That's propaganda. Propaganda. Propaganda is here. The Iron Curtain is you. You're not getting this information. You don't even know about Yuri Bezmenov. You probably don't even know Bezmenov. You probably don't even know who he is, but I'm telling you who he is. I'm not beating you up. I'm telling you, this is a news report. You've got to know what's happening. The 80s happened. The 90s, Clinton gets the president, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, you're lucky to go to a movie where they don't have GDs and swear words, and of course you're Christian. You go to those movies too. I mean, what happened to morality? Do you know when God gave the 10 Commandments, he wasn't in a bad mood? Boundaries is where freedom is. The communists knew what they were doing. I want to give you another example of the lack of morality or the loss of morality, but I'm going to update it to 2024 and 2023. There's a guy named Yuval Noah Harari. Most of you don't even know who he is. He's part of the World Economic Forum, WEF, World Economic Forum. If you say it backwards, FEW, few. Yeah, they're definitely for the few. Yuval Noah Harari is the major spokesman, along with Klaus Schwab. You'll have nothing and be happy. Yeah, be happy. Yes. Well, anyway, these two team up together, and the whole globalist world, the billionaires, the rhinos and the Democrats, they come. Oh, these guys brilliant. The movie stars. Oh, this guy brilliant, brilliant, and they're talking about things that are so destructive. I'm going to give you a taste of Yuval Noah Harari talking about AI, artificial intelligence. And again, it's about 2 minutes or so. Thank you for watching.
So there is a chance that within a very short time, the entire advertisement industry will collapse, while AI, or the people and companies that control the new AI oracles, will become extremely, extremely powerful. What we are potentially talking about is nothing less than the end of human history. Now, not the end of history, just the end of the human-dominated part of what we call history. History is the interaction between biology and culture. It's the interaction between our biological needs and desires for things like food and sex, and our cultural creations like religions and laws. History is the process through which religions and laws interact with food and sex. Now, what will happen to the course of this interaction of history when AI takes over culture? Within a few years, AI could eat the whole of human culture, everything was produced for thousands and thousands of years, to eat all of it, digest it, and start gushing out a flood of new cultural creations.
Okay, here's Yuval Noah Harari, a very simple, small guy. He's an Israeli. And by the way, it's Jesus who said, talks about the synagogue of Satan. Paul, who says not everybody of Israel is Israel. No, he's an Israeli, and his partner in the World Economic Forum is the son of a Nazi. I mean, what's going on here? But anyway, he's over there. He's extremely well known. Now, if you don't know who he is, now you do. See, you're coming out of passivity. This is what's going on in your world and mine. The AI, I mean, the AI has to do with ecological problems. We have big ecological problems. But AI is a necessary part of saving the planet. Saving the planet from ecological, but we have to have AI, artificial intelligence. And you see what he's saying? Artificial intelligence will take over, is taking over, and it will have a new history. The new history of living beings is not going to be primarily from human beings. The human history of living beings is going to be artificial beings or AI. Isn't it wonderful? Now, he doesn't say it in this 2-minute clip here, but in other clips he has, isn't it wonderful we have an AI Bible? We no longer have to have this Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and all this Christian stuff like Jesus. No way. We're going to have our own, and we won't have free will. Of course, Harari will have free will. The globalists will have free will, but you won't. You'll have nothing and be happy, but you'll be happy. You'll be fine. We will have saved the planet from ecological disaster, and you'll be living in your little thing. It's called the feudal system. Friends, you're living there. Your kids are part of it. Your grandkids are part of it. You know, when I want to lead somebody to the Lord, you know what I do? I don't start with the 4 spiritual laws. I talk to them about what's going on in the world today. And we come to some agreement because everybody knows that they're being oppressed. All you have to do is interview people and bring them out. And then when we see, yeah, this is going on, then I say, there's a way out. It's the way up. And Jesus is very spiritual and very pragmatic. There's a way out. And then I start to talk. When I go out, the altars are filled with people. Because real preaching happens in Narrowgate Theater, Dramatic Christian Ministries. I'm not bragging. I'm telling you, I just happen to know what's going on. I'm in recovery. Hi, Dennis. Hi, Dennis. Well, I'm in recovery, though. I'm getting better. I'm coming out of the fog of pacifism. So the Antichrist has got us with religion, fake religion. He's got us destroying morality. Totally destroyed. Yuval talks about sex the whole time. He says, I was 20 years old when I found out I was a homosexual, but with AI, I'll know when I'm 5 years old or 5 seconds. I'll never have to go through the turmoil that I went through. I mean, this is the world. It's a fake Christian world. That's what it is mostly. The third thing I want to talk to you about is the financial side of the Antichrist. And again, sin of passivity, which we don't want to deal with. But we are going to deal with it. And we're going to go to a very famous movie. You probably see it very often, probably around Christmas time. It's called It's a Wonderful Life. And we have a scene with
Henry Potter and George Bailey talking finance. It's about 2 minutes or so. Let's watch it right now. Thank you for watching.
Well, what's your point, Mr. Potter?
My point is I want to hire you.
Hire me?
I want you to manage my affairs, run my properties. George, I'll start you out at $20,000 a year.
$20,000 a year?
You wouldn't mind living in the nicest house in town? Buying your wife a lot of fine clothes, a couple of business trips to New York a year, maybe once in a while Europe. You wouldn't mind that, would you, George?
Would I? You're not talking to somebody else around here, are you? You know, this is me. You remember me? George Bailey.
George Bailey. Huh? George Bailey, whose ship has just come in. Provided he has enough brains to climb aboard.
Holy mackerel. Well, how about the building and loan?
Oh, confound it, man. Are you afraid of success? I'm offering you a 3 years contract at $20,000 a year starting today. Is it a deal or isn't it?
Well, Mr. Potter, I know I ought to jump at the chance, but I just, I wonder if it'd be possible for you to give me 24 hours to think it over.
Sure. You go on home and talk about it to your wife.
I'd like to do that.
Yeah, then in the meantime, I'll draw up the papers.
All right, sir.
Okay, George?
Okay, Mr. Potter. No, wait a minute here. Wait a minute. I don't need 24 hours. I don't have to talk to anybody. I know right now, and the answer's no. Doggone it. You sit around here and you spin your little webs and you think the whole world revolves around you and your money. Well, it doesn't, Mr. Potter. In the whole vast configuration of things, I'd say you were nothing but a scurvy little spider. And that goes for you, too. That goes for you, too.
I want to talk to you about this scene, which you just saw. You got Potter. It didn't show in the scene, but Potter says to Bailey, you don't want to have the clips be too long, but Potter says to Bailey, George, you beat me at my own game. You beat me. You just outwitted me. He flatters him. And then he offers him a job, which is a bribe. Now, if George had taken that job, he would have absolutely sold himself to Potter. Now, Potter represents the New World Order. If you don't know what the New World Order is, well, that's what's ruling all the countries today, all the world. I mean, New World Order. It's all over. Israel's part of the New World Order. We're on the same team as Israel. All these nations are a New World Order. Now, China's got its own New World Order, and there's going to be an Armageddon of New World Order nations very, very soon. But it's New World Order. It's not nations. We have 12 million illegals. Now, I've heard a number from as much as 7 million, 10 million, 12 million, and maybe higher. Illegal people that have come in across the border from Mexico. They're not all Mexicans. They're all over the world. They're coming through Mexico. That's an American problem. No boundaries, no nations. New World Order. Now, these 12 million people, do you think they're going to vote in 2024? Do you think? What's going to stop them? You don't need to show a driver's license. Just show that you're living with Uncle Pedro or Sam or Joe or whatever, and you vote. They're going to vote for the Uniparty, namely the Democrats and Rhinos. They're going to vote. Do you realize how... Again, why are we talking about this? God's in control. Let's change the subject. No, let's deal with it. Let's kick it out. I kick out all this garbage, and then I can preach the gospel, and people come forward because they know their only hope is Jesus. But we kind of have a lot of little hopes, but we don't admit it to ourselves. Okay, I just want to give you an example, though. Some of you know what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin began in 2010. A guy named Finney, Hal Finney, was the first person to buy a Bitcoin. It was on December 30th of 2010. Bitcoin's supposed to be, I'm not an economist, and I'm not telling you to buy Bitcoin or Monero. I'm just telling you, it was made to be an alternative financial system. You see, inflation was happening, printing of money was going on in 2010. It's going on even more in 2024, much more. The dollar's losing value. The banks are going to have to start what we call a central bank digital currency. We're doing it already, but they're going to take more power and more control so that you won't even be able to own your own money. That's what Klaus Schwab means when he says you'll own nothing and be happy. Your money, you're going to get an allowance. But if you're not on the right side, if you don't believe in climate control, or you vote for Donald Trump, or you're Christian, you go to church too much or something, your social score is going to be very low. You're going to get less money. It's very real. So Bitcoin, these alternative financial lanes, if you will, they're very attractive. Remember, the last day isn't here yet. God's given us you want to put money in the bank at 5% interest now. You want to put in Bitcoin, just do it. But understand, Bitcoin has been bought out, not bought out, but BlackRock, the big electronic, funding company, owns about 25% of the world. BlackRock has bought Bitcoin big time, and now people are buying Bitcoin because it's getting legitimate. But Bitcoin was never meant to be legitimate any more than Bailey Building and Loan was supposed to be legitimate. It was supposed to be what it was, a thorn in the flesh of the New World Order. George Bailey wasn't getting rich. He wasn't getting rich. He hated it. What saved George Bailey from the economic system that he was in, what saved him was when he came to the very end of himself. He came to the bridge and he finally said, God, oh God, please, I want to live. I want to live. I want to live. He just tried to commit suicide off that same bridge. I want to live. I want to live. I want to live. I don't care if I go to jail. I don't care if I go to jail. And that's how we beat him. We don't beat him with Bitcoin, but be warned. You want about Bitcoin, it's still freer than the fiat system. The fiat system is the fake money system, the dollar system that's going to hell, so to speak. And the banks are going to have to get their money from you because they got to get it from somebody because they can't go bad, right? In 2008, they said, we got to save the banks. They'll do that anytime. But if it comes to the banks or you, they're going to go to you to get your money. That's where you're living. That's what the mark of the beast is all about. The Antichrist is this great fake peacemaker. So that's where it's at. So Bailey beats the system when he goes to God and he says, I don't care if I got to go to jail. I'm okay. I'm fine. I just got my life back. I got to ground zero and I found out that God understands the economy. You know, the Greek word for economy means not only money, but it means the way of life. God's economy is the way of life. He goes home and he finds out that all the garlic eaters, quote unquote, or as Hillary Clinton calls people like us, deplorables, they all came through. They came against their fear, against the New World Order, Potter, and they bailed George Bailey out. And George even got a blessing. I'm always talking about the victory that transcends success. But along the way, George had a little success there too. But it was the victory that transcends success that made him win. And that's how we can beat it. That's how we can beat it. Yeah, BlackRock's going to own the Bitcoin ETFs, or another way of saying stock market, electronic transfer funds. It's legitimizing something that was radically cool for people, great for people. Yeah, people will buy into it because most people are passive. They don't want to know what's going on, but you and I do. And we need to know. And when we share it, it's really good. I want to take a break, but first I want to show you a clip from The Music Man. And after the clip from The Music Man, I'm going to get into a conversation with my partner with Narrowgate News, Narrowgate Theater, and Dramatic Christian Ministries, Ron Carter. But let's watch The Music Man. That's right, Harold Hill. About another 2 minutes, The Music Man. I'll tell you why we put The Music Man on in a minute. Just watch it. Thank you so much.
Oh, they just got in a new pool table.
They must have seen a pool table before.
No, just billiards.
That'll do it. You just sit where you are, and remember, if you see that music teacher... Are you Mr. Dunlop?
Yeah? Well, either you're closing your eyes to a situation you do not wish to acknowledge, or you are not aware of the caliber of disaster indicated by the presence of a pool table in your community. Well, you got trouble, my friend. Right here, I say trouble right here in River City. Why, sure, I'm a billiard player. Certainly mighty proud to say I'm always mighty proud to say it. I consider that the hours I spend with a cue in my hand are golden. Help me cultivate horse sense and a cool head and a keen eye. Did you ever take and try to give an ironclad leave to yourself from a three-rail billiard shot? But just as I say it takes judgment, brains, and maturity to score in a bop-line game, I say that any boob can take and shove a ball in a pocket. And I call that sloth. The first big step on the road to the depths of degradation. I say first, medicinal wine from a teaspoon, then beer from a bottle. And the next thing you know, your son is playing for money in a pinchback suit. And listening to some big out-of-town Jasper, hearing him tell about horse race gambling. Not a wholesome trotting race, no, but a race where they set down right on the horse. Like to see some stuck-up jockey boy setting on Dan Patch, make your blood boil, well, I should say. Now, friends, let me tell you what I mean. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pockets in a table. Pockets that mark the difference between a gentleman and a bum with a capital B, and that rhymes with P, and that stands for pool.
Okay, so we have Ron Carter now. Ron Carter, the Music Man. Hi, Ron.
Hey, Dennis, how are you?
Good, good. Hey, what do you think of The Music Man?
The Music Man was a dynamic film back in its day, and it still is relevant today.
He's a what? He's a what? He's a
relevant.
music man. He plays clarinets.
Yeah.
Hey, Ron, I don't know if I ever told you this. Forgive me if I don't remember telling you, but I had my first ever part in a play in 1969 in Port Chester, New York. I played Harold Hill, the Music Man. Did you know that?
Wow, no, I didn't know that.
See, you learn something every day. I was the Music Man.
Huh.
And it came out in 62 on Broadway, but in 69, they'd already made it into a film. And I got a hold of that film and I copied Robert Preston's step, you know.
Yeah.
The way he moves around. He's a what? He's
real active, real active.
the guy was a walking note, music note. He was amazing guy. But amazing part. But wouldn't it be nice, Ron, if the trouble that we have in this world wasn't some of the things that we're talking about on this Narrowgate News Report, but they were like pool tables, billiards.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice if that was our problem?
Just little fun games, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would prefer. I mean, I read an article once comparing a school problem in the 1960s versus in 2024. 1960s was, do you know the children were chewing gum? They were chewing gum in school? That was the problem of students in the 60s, yeah. The sixth graders.
That's right. Gum under the desks. Yeah.
But now the problem for the sixth graders is, I'm a boy today, but do I want to be a girl? My teacher is telling me I should do it. And I'm not supposed to tell my parents. I mean, what has happened?
Yeah.
Anyway,
flipped.
I thought I'd take a break and show the Music Man because you know something, Ron? I live in New Mexico, Albuquerque, New Mexico. And if there's not chemtrails on that day, it's a big, beautiful blue sky.
Yeah.
And I love blue skies.
I
love the liberty I have. The God's with me, that I'm like George Bailey, no matter what happens. I love my family. I love God. And I love Narrowgate News.
And springtime is upon us, and it's blue sky and sunshine now. Yeah.
I find as a grown-up, Ron, expressing myself, expressing truth actually takes the cobwebs of fear away. What do you think of that?
Well, it does. Once you express yourself, you just can continue on and carry on and depend. You know, a lot of people will have different avenues they continue on, but staying true to the Lord and His creation will keep you in focus.
Well, there's a last week's show I talked about getting regrafted.
Yeah.
Jesus in John 15 talks about trees that are off the branches that are off the tree they have no life because they're not connected to the vine. And, you know, we could look at that verse in terms of salvation. But if you're looking in terms of just redeeming the day, redeeming the situation, I could be regrafted into that vine, just connecting with God. And all of a sudden, my circumstance hasn't changed, but my attitude about my circumstance has radically changed.
Yeah.
And this is where preaching comes back by actually dealing with the issues and the main sin that the people are having, which is our own passivity. It's evil. When the Bible says hate evil, he's saying hate it in yourself.
Yeah. Well, we've been trained that way too. It's
we're definitely trained. I'm a seminary guy. I know what it means to be trained like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been trained, but you know something? I'm getting untrained.
That's right.
And I learn as much from sharing as I do from hearing. And I love hearing from other people. That's why we have interviews.
That's right. There comes a point when you have to take that training and either develop it or disown it. And
disown it?
Yeah, disown it.
Why would you want to develop it? I just want to understand what you're saying.
Well, you would step into it like George Bailey had the opportunity. Potter was asking him to join him in his endeavors, and so most of us would take that step. We'd say, "Okay, that sounds like a good plan," and George Bailey almost did.
Right.
But he had an epiphany and said, "Wait a minute, wait a second.
Well, he had two epiphanies. One when he pulled his hand out,
Yeah.
but he still was miserable. He still was reluctant. He hated the building and bailing loan as much as the New World Order guy, Henry Potter. But he had his breakthrough when he realized how important his family was.
Yes.
How life was really worth living. And it transcends the world's view of religion. It transcends the world's view of finance and the world's view of morality.
That's
And they
right.
come back to the simple, I love God, he loves me, and I wouldn't want to cheat on my wife, and I wouldn't want to have sex before marriage, all that kind of stuff.
The funny thing is, the funny thing is that in the Hollywood or various movies that we've been brought up to watch over the years, there's always a villain and there's always the good guy, right? And the good guy participates with the villain for a while, but finally overcomes, and we see the moral character and the goodness of all of that in all of the various movies that we have seen over the years, and everybody agrees this is all good. We love the good guy.
Yeah.
Yet when we look into the culture today, we don't see it.
Yeah.
We ignore it.
What we've learned as Narrowgate Theater is that God's theater company transcends theater as we know it. And we found out what real good is, and we can actually play that out in life.
Yes.
And but listen, Ron, I enjoyed taking a break with you here. Got to get back on this. I got a few more clips I want to show.
Yep, got to get.
Thank you, Ron. God bless.
Hey, take care. God bless.
Bye-bye. So what we have here is another clip I want to show you. I want to show you, I called it two Biden clips I'm going to show you. The first one, I call it Biden number one, otherwise known as Biden's Hitler speech. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. Let's watch, I think it's a minute and a half of President Joe Biden exhorting people about things that he exhorts about. Let's just watch it for a minute and a half. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we can't be pro-insurrectionist and pro-American. They're incompatible. We can't allow violence to be normalized in this country. It's wrong. We each have to reject political violence with all the moral clarity and conviction this nation can muster. Now, we can't let the integrity of our elections be undermined, for that is a path to chaos. Look, I know politics can be fierce and mean and nasty in America. I get it. I believe in the give and take of politics, in disagreement and debate and dissent. We're a big, complicated country. But democracy endures only if we, the people, respect the guardrails of the republic. Only if we, the people, accept the results of free and fair elections. Only if we, the people, see politics not as total war, but mediation of our differences. Democracy cannot survive when one side believes there are only two outcomes to an election. Either they win or they were cheated.
Okay, so you might have noticed, well, you didn't notice. What you saw was a dark red background and some soldiers. They were American soldiers, but you know, if you didn't know better, you might have thought they were Nazis or something. Dark red. It starts out bright, and then the dark red starts as soon as Mr. Biden. Have you ever noticed when he gets really angry and he starts to yell and scream that he doesn't stumble over his words? The prosecutor, investigated Mr. Biden recently, and he exonerated him from having illegal files that he took home with him as vice president because he has dementia. This is what he concluded. But it's an amazing remark right there. But nevertheless, when he gets really mad, he doesn't have that dementia. And you notice what he says: J6, insurrections, in another clip, MAGA people, MAGA Republicans, you got to watch out for them. MAGA Republicans are fine. Disagreement is fine. But those MAGAs represented the backbone of Donald Trump's presidency, the very foundation of support, which causes moderate people to vote for that guy too, which is how you get elected. No, it's a powerful move, and we can't have it. We got to get him out. And of course, he talks about the legitimate election or the lack. Excuse me. He talks about his election as legitimate, but the people who protest it as very illegitimate. They fight against it. They won't accept it. This is a good election, and they won't accept it, and that's wrong. That's wrong. Okay. Invitation over. Okay. Okay. Now I want you to watch what I call Biden number 2. This is only 14 seconds. Let's watch Biden number 2 right now. It goes.
We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
Okay. Now, I didn't make this up. The guy that's there is not a robot. That is the man that would become president saying, well, you heard it. This will be the greatest election fraud in the history of American politics. He told us this. Okay. Now, when Mr. Biden responded to her, who told him that we're not going to prosecute you for taking files that you shouldn't have taken as vice president, he got very insulted. There's nothing wrong with me. And all the Democrats, there's nothing wrong with him. He's a wonderful president. Okay, fine. There's nothing wrong with Joe Biden. Okay. Why did he say we're about to do the greatest fraudulent election in the history of America? Why did he say that? Oh, he's got dementia. He didn't know what he's saying. No, you can't have it both ways. No, the very man who's saying our election was good, it was honest, and it was absolutely terrific. And you MAGA people are trying to destroy our country by not accepting it, when he told us in advance it was a fraud. You know, Satan always shows his colors. Somebody said to me recently, they said, you know, poor Mr. Biden, I think I was watching his speech, State of the Union speech, and she texted me and said something like, he's a puppet. I wrote back to her, I said, yes, he's a puppet, but he's complicit. Yeah, he knows what he's doing. He does know what he's doing. Probably sorry. He told us in advance it was going to be a fraudulent election. Sorry that the cat got out of the bag. You ever hear of the Freudian slip? Well, he told us. And that's it for the clips today. But what's the way out? How much time do I have? How much time do I have? 4.5 minutes. Okay, 4.5 minutes to bring a close to here. If I had a little more time, I was going to get an interview with Klaus Schwab. I was going to ask Klaus Schwab to come on the air, but we practiced it a little bit like this. Klaus Schwab. Hello. Hello, Klaus Schwab. Do you know my name? I don't know your name, your number. Oh, what's my number? 5,422,016. Oh, you don't know my name. I'm just a number? I'm just a number? Yeah, you're all numbers to me. You destroying the planet. But we will save you. We'll save you despite the fact that you are the way you are. Anyway, I can't go into that conversation because I don't have enough time anymore with Schwab. But maybe next time we'll get him on for sure. We'll talk some more. But anyway, I want to tell you the way out. The way up. You know, why would a grown man like me want to do Narrowgate News? Why? You know, I can't. You know, my favorite thing to do is, honestly, when I was a child, my favorite thing was to go to Yankee Stadium and sit in the bleachers. Watch Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris, Yogi Berra. And then when I got older, the new Yankee Stadium, had a little income, I had a better seat. But my favorite place to watch a ball game is Fenway Park in Boston. That to me is my comfort zone. Now, I still like it. And God gives me many blessed days. You understand? I'm not talking about miserable life. I'm talking about a victorious life. If George Bailey could have victory facing prison, and he had great victory, he broke through. He broke through the New World Order. We can break through, and we're not even in that place yet. It's coming, but we're not there. But Jesus said the best wine is saved for the end. What do you think he's talking about? You think he's just being a poet there? You think he's doing a filler like radio? You can't have silent moments on radio. No. He's talking about the fellowship of God with us and us with God, with one another. And suddenly reconciliation is happening among family, among enemies. Generosity is happening. In the meantime, you buy Bitcoin, you have a season with it, and you can sell your Bitcoin, get some money. Of course, CBDC is going to take it later on, but not yet. Today is so important. This moment held in captive obedience unto thee. This thought, these days, this moment, this is so valuable. This is what you bring home to the spouse, the wife, the husband. This is what you can. This is money. And it's worth more than money. It's the Greek word of economy. It's life. And it has livelihood. God knows what you need. God already knows what you need. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. And all these things will be added to you. Drop your passivity. Drop it. It's a sin. Get rid of it. Enjoy that you're saying, God, I want to get rid of it, because the gift of repentance is a gift from God. And he gives it to those who seek him and want his system, his way. He's the truth, the way, and the life. And I am so glad to be part of the team with you. I'm so glad to say, Lord, give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. I want to thank you. I'm Dennis Cole. This is Narrowgate News. God bless you.
Thank you for participating in our Narrowgate News Show. We hope you have experienced, with our host, Dennis Cole, great insight into current events. Our vision is that Narrowgate News inspires a hunger to know what's happening in our world today, that this broadcast challenges your faith to grow closer to God, and it encourages you to share more love and truth with others. We look forward to sharing more with you on our next broadcast of Narrowgate News with host Dennis Cole.